Hello there and welcome back to another review. I probably say this about every Sammo Hung film that I have probably ever reviewed. I mean, I always say, oh, it's my favourite Sammo Hung film. It's my favourite Sammo Hung. It's definitely my all-time favourite Sammo Hung. But Encounters of the Spooky Kind, Encounter of the Spooky Kind, Spooky Encounters, whatever you want to call it, is probably, along with Prodigal Son, my favourite Sammo Hung movie by a long, long, long way. Lots to say about this movie. It's an absolute classic. It's a real horror, kung fu, comedy mishmash, and everything about this film is absolutely perfect. And I'll be getting in today as to why I think that is and why it's definitely one worth checking out. Or also as well, if you're a fan of Spooky Encounters, let me know. Love to hear from other fans of the movie. One of my favourite films of all time, sometimes known as Spooky Encounters, as I mentioned, Encounters of the Spooky Kind, is a fantastic Hong Kong kung fu horror comedy mashup. It's an absolute blast from start to finish. Right, it will be I hopefully getting today, try and get across why that is and why the film is just an absolute, it's just such a classic. It really is. This is one of the first. It's one of the first of its kind, made in 1980, and of course directing amazingly well by Sammo. Worth noting as well, he also co-wrote it. The comedy, the horror, and of course the kung fu are all working here, and it's just a 5-star movie, right? It is 100% a 5-star movie. Whether you're into kung fu, any that kind of film, Hong Kong cinema, it is a 5-star film. End of story. It really is. The film went on, every single scene in this movie is entertaining. It just works, and it's, as I say, it's such a great ride. The film went on to pave the way for such films such as Zoo, Warriors from the Magic Mountain, Dead and the Deadly, also starring Sammo, A Chinese Ghost Story, and of course Mr. Vampire with Ching-ying, who is also in this film here. Let's really hope at some stage Eureka or 88 Films bring out the sequel, Spooky Encounters 2, which would really overdue a Blu-ray release, because I used to have it on VHS, but it's still a great film. At the end, where Sammo's sort of fighting some snake men, really great stuff. It's not as classic as this one, but it's still got Lam Ching-ying in it, still got Sammo, still got the horror, and it's still a great film. So this was another one of them movies that I had back on VHS back in the 90s. A VHS of which that I still own. I've still got it, released by Made in Hong Kong, and I'll never ever get rid of it, as it's sort of very special to me, and it's one of my, like I mentioned, you can probably guess, it is one of my favourite films. This is just Sammo at his most fun, his most inventive, and it just sums up the whole reason why I watch sort of Hong Kong cinema or Jackie Chan films, Sammo Hung. It's just pure entertainment from start to finish. There's no sort of message in the movies. There's no sort of metaphor for things. It's just pure entertainment. Just chill out for 90, 100 minutes and just lose yourself and just have a good time. Sammo in this film stars as Big Guts Chung, mainly because he is meant to be like sort of the bravest man in town. It starts with him having this really warped dream where he's being sort of eaten alive, which is trippy in itself. Even that opening sequence is very lucid. It's very sort of bizarre and surreal in sort of the imagery. This is going to be a very different traditional kung fu movie. Him and his wife don't get along. He sees her in a new dress and wants to know where she got it from. He has like no idea. He works for Master Tam, Master Tam's like a respected, rich, wealthy man about town, right? He's got a reputation. People know of him. He's respected. People look up to him. He's got that kind of thing. His friends tell him about a game where tells Sammo about this game where he has to sort of peel an apple without breaking the seal in front of a mirror, and at midnight, and if it breaks, something horrific will happen. And as he is meant to be sort of the bravest man in town, he goes to his friend's house to do it. And it's really just them playing a prank on him. But but a spirit like a ghost really does actually appear. They think they're just messing him around, but Sammo does actually break the seal on the apple, like the peel, and it, like I say, a ghost really does appear. And some great shots here, even very on in the film. Sammo's, if you watch that scene, you can hear Sammo's heartbeat over the soundtrack getting louder and louder. The hand and the finger and the lighting, the candles from the darkness behind the mirror, and the way the hand comes through the mirror as well. It's really wonderfully shot. Great stuff. The ghost pulls his friend through and there's like this really long arm. Sammo cuts the hand off and building starts to collapse, and the whole opening scene, that whole bit just really does set up the movie for what you're about to watch and you're about to see. And like I say, it's just pure entertainment. It's just such good fun. So Sammo just moves on and doesn't even question where his friend got to, because his friend's just disappeared, right? He got pulled into this realm or dimension or something. Sammo just moves on with his life. He's not too worried about it. Doesn't even mention his friend anymore after that. So whilst out the day having tofu pudding, he gets told by the salesman about a guy whose wife was cheating on him. And it's funny because it's really for that scene, he's telling these sellers like Sammo and his buddies about this wife who like ended up cheating on him, cheating on the husband. It was actually his wife that cheated on him, like the seller. And the wife sort of slaps him. She's like, God, are you still going on about that? It was ages ago. Like, sort of get over it, which I thought was quite a funny little moment. This makes Sammo all suspicious. So he goes home to sort of check on his wife because he's like, well, yeah, what about if my wife's cheating, okay? But Sammo, so he goes home to check and he's like, we find out that it's actually his boss, Master Tam, who is sleeping with his wife, but Sammo doesn't know this and manages to get hold of his shoe that he leaves behind. So Master Tam, his boss, is actually sleeping with Sammo's missus. So that's pretty messed up, if you ask me. That's so Sammo breaks in and goes into his house, and Master Tam manages to escape, but Sammo has got his shoe. So the whole film he's looking for the owner of this shoe. He wants to know who is having relations with his wife, and this is what, because he sort of saw through the keyhole what they were doing. So Tam recruits Chin Hoi, played by Peter Chan, to use sorcery to dispose of Chung. So it's done cleanly, basically. His student, played by Chong Fat, wants nothing to do with it. These two are sort of like, they're both sort of magical priests, as it were. Chong Fat doesn't want anything to do with it, but Peter Chan's character is more than happy to take it on, using like witchcraft and Chinese magic to sort of dispose of Sammo. So it's done cleanly, there's no loose ends, that kind of thing. I say Chong Fat doesn't want anything to do with it because it's murder. Jin Hoi gets Wumar to get Chung to spend one night at Ancestral Hall for 10 taels of silver. After all, I mean, he is big guts Chung, so he's like, yeah, go on then, I'll do it, because he's got a reputation to uphold, Sammo. So he's like, yeah, go on then, I'll do it, it's money, why not? So Soy Chong Fat meets him as he's going to the hall to collect a body, and Sammo's like, wait a minute, because Chong Fat goes, I'm just going there to collect. Sammo bumps into him, and he's like, Chong Fat goes, I'm just going there to collect a body, and Sammo's like, well, wait a minute, I'm going there as well. So it did. Chong Fat's character would sort of aid Sammo in how they're going to like sort of help him get through the night at the hall. Gives him advice so he can survive, tells him to hide in the ceiling, and then at a certain time to lay under the coffin. It's worth knowing that Peter Chan, that I mentioned in my Prodigal Son review, but I will mention it here as well, but Peter Chan's character Chin Hoi, he actually as well has a cameo in Prodigal Son, and Peter Chan is in that film as another character, but there's a little cameo moment where he does play the priest from Spooky Encounters in Prodigal Son. So the whole idea is he'll be using sorcery to kill Sammo, who is locked in the temple building with this like corpse, right, with this like sort of zombie vampire corpse. Sammo, what he does well with this film, and which I think he does more than anybody could expect him to do, he does the horror really well. The horror is done really, really well. He does evoke a sense of horror and pays attention to even though if you look at the lighting used and when he's going to that ancestral hall, it's really great. It's really good stuff. He goes into the ceiling and this hopping vampire corpse rises, and this is, like I mentioned, just great fun stuff. I mean, it's worth noting as well, I do believe that the vampire is actually played by Yun Bu. I think it's Yun Bu under all that makeup there doing all the moves. And like I mentioned, listen to the soundtrack too and how bass heavy, when that vampire's hopping, listen to how bass heavy the hops are of the vampire. It just adds to that eeriness and it makes it even more scary for some reason. It does for me. So the vampire can't find him. Chin Hoi's running out of strength. So I love when he goes back into the coffin, the vampire comes back, super aggressive, eventually hopping onto like Chung's feet at one point. Luckily Dawn is coming though and he is saved. And in his days on his way out, Wumar catches up and he unwillingly agrees to spend another night in the temple. And he's like, wait, I didn't, because he's just like, I can't believe what's happened. I've just had to like encounter like a zombie vampire corpse, and in that sort of state he just out of nowhere agrees to spend another night, and he just can't believe what he's just done. And I love how Sammo's director is like, let's have Chung spend another night. That's what's so great, because he's like, Sammo as a director is like, I can get more out of that. Let's not make it just one night. Sammo is like, no, let's do one night, and I'll have the character spend another night as well, because I can get more mileage out of this. I can get a bit more out of this me with this, like I say, this zombie vampire. Choi this time tells him to get dog's blood, dog's paws, and 50 chicken eggs. 50 chicken eggs. Of course, the vendor doesn't have enough, so he gives him 10 duck eggs. So they're not all chicken eggs. Much like with the whole rice fiasco that we saw, Mr. Vampire. If you go back to my review of that, you see him actually at one point even taking a small dog to get slaughtered at this. At this guy, like this butcher's, and it's poor thing. Told to sleep on the coffin and throw eggs in if it comes out, throw the paws and the blood on the corpse. So you don't see the dog getting slaughtered, but you do see a live chicken getting its head cut off in this movie, which even the first time I saw it, I was a bit, okay, that come out of nowhere, because it's a live chicken and it does get its head cut off. And it's worth noting as well, at this point in the movie, the film's been on for about 45 minutes, and give or take, we've not had one kung fu fight, right? We've not had one kung fu fight, but who cares when a film is this entertaining? So everything going according to plan until he uses the duck eggs, obviously, and then we have Chung and the vampire having a kung fu battle, which is great fun. Really amazing stuff. I mean, just a great, amazing, inventive stuff. It's so inventive, like with Sammo trying to take the vampire out as it stops, as Chin Hoi's having a drink and throws the blood over it, and Peter Chan goes flying at Master Tam's place at one point. He absolutely goes... He gets, once he throws the blood and the paws on him, like Peter Chan's character goes absolutely flying. And if you look at that scene closely, you can even see the edge of the set at one point, because this guy obviously is on wires, but he's being thrown back. But you can see sort of the edge of the set. So after this fails too, they frame Chung for murder of his wife. Ching-ying turns up as a police constable this time, and he sort of locks Chung up. Yeah, it's worth noting as well, Ching is not sort of the vampire hunter here. That he would go on to sort of have in, like, say, Mr. Vampire, and sort of hinted at in Dead and the Deadly, but here he's sort of a police chief, police constable. Tam visits him, the two-faced guy that he is. Tam visits Chung and says he's doing all he can to get help, and you're like, yeah, right, because you want Tam to get his comeuppance, right? Because you're sleeping with the guy's wife, man. Like, have a bit of respect. And Chung is going to be beheaded for killing his wife. In there, even though they can't find no corpse, they don't even know she's dead. I mean, they plant blood and things around his place, but there's no evidence that she is actually dead. But Sammo Hung is going to get beheaded. The film also has that notion of conspiracy as well running through it at this point. So I say you got conspiracy, kung fu, horror, comedy. It's all in there. It's just all thrown at you. He breaks down. He stays at this derelict building where there is a corpse. I mean, go figure. And after all he has been through with hopping vampires, Chung is quite still happy to sleep right next to this corpse. Bearing in mind what the guy's been through with the hopping vampire and everything else, he's quite happy to sleep right next to this corpse. After the hands touch, like their hands touch, it's apparent the corpse has absorbed some of Chung's chi, and I'm pretty sure that corpse, if you watch that scene, I'm pretty sure it's played by Wu Ma. If you look at the facial structure, just the way sort of I know he's under like a lot of sort of makeup and things, but I'm pretty sure it's Wu Ma. I could be completely wrong, but I think that's who it is. And it starts copying Sammo's movements, and after a black cat hops over him, starts chasing Sammo, and the corpse end up landing on Lam Ching-ying's character. Chung goes to work for Saw, and then we have the classic tea house brawl, which to me is... That tea house fight in this movie is Sammo probably at his most agile. It's probably... This was one of the first scenes I saw of Sammo, because I'd only really seen Sammo sort of in the Lucky Stars film at this point, or with Jackie Chan, because obviously I was into Jackie Chan first, and then I got into Sammo a little bit later, like quite... I think I still, even now, so I was more of a Sammo Hung fan than a Jackie Chan fan. But when I first saw this was the first time I thought, God, I had no idea how talented Sammo was, and this tea house brawl just absolutely is incredible, really incredible. I know I say that about so many scenes, but this really is. Like I say, Sammo is most agile, and this was a sequence to me when I first saw it. It was like, damn, it was just amazing stuff. Chin Hoi has taken over sort of Sammo's body. Soy confronts him and have a nice little kung fu fight between the two, sort of using wooden swords, like the two priests using wooden swords, which is sort of forgotten about little sequence, but it's nice seeing Peter Chan and Chong Fat. They have a little kung fu fight, which keeps the kung fu and the momentum going with the fighting. Lam Ching-ying turns up and takes Sammo and his fellow police. And when I first saw it, I had to rewind it about 4 times. Like I say, this fight scene, amazing bench work from Sammo. He's rolling over it, he's flipping over table, and the speed is it's out of this world. So after finding out that someone could do this only if they have the person's birth chart, he realised that Sammo's like, only Master Tam has it. Chin, it's always like they put 2 and 2 together. It's like, he's got to be Master Tam, right, who's instigating this, because they need their birth chart to sort of that they would have needed that to sort of possess Sammo. So they come to the conclusion that it is Master Tam. We see his wife with Master Tam, who actually wants Chung dead too. So she, her and Master Tam they're toxic. They're absolutely toxic, because she can't wait for him to be dead either. Master Tam wants him dead. She can't wait for him to be dead. So yeah, you just want. Sammo in this is really he doesn't get a good hand this movie. You just want him to get sort of some justice and payback. I mean, so I say, his wife is so cold-hearted. It has a real sinister vibe, this film, with the sort of the antagonists and what they're doing. So it makes him, like I say, Sammo his disciple, and gives Sammo this red vest to help protect him. Chin Hoi summons these demon spirits, and then we have what to me is like the freakiest scene in the whole movie, with these sort of 3 demons coming down and landing sort of in the courtyard. And again, it's almost like a forgotten scene, but if you've seen the film, you know the bit I mean, with the lighting and the thunder and everything, and it's shot from sort of inside, but you're looking outside, but you see these 3 sort of spectres sort of descend, and with the music and the lighting, it's just really, really eerie. With the atmosphere, and it's just really creepy. Ends up Chung and Soy going to confront Master Tam and his brother, both raising their altar. Sammo and Chin getting possessed, and sort of Chin Hoi's assistant and Sammo getting possessed by different gods. And this is where the film is pure just kung fu Sammo heaven. It really is absolutely a wonderful finale, powerhouse finale in Spooky Encounters. I mean, Sammo getting possessed by the Monkey King, great monkey kung fu here from Sammo. Even when they speak, the gods are sort of goading each other and ridiculing each other because they've been possessed by these gods. Chin Hoi's assistant fighting with like the metal ring. Real fast, amazing, classic Sammo Hung kung fu action sequence with a novel twist as well. It's not like it's just them fighting. The idea they have been possessed and it's somebody else doing the fighting for them. So it's a kung fu fight, but with a different twist, with a horror twist, with a it just works amazingly well. Then Sammo gets possessed by a spear-wielding god and Master Tam by a sword-wielding one. You can tell Sammo is just absolutely having a blast here. He really is. He really is. He's got such a kinetic energy in this movie. He's got, like I say, it just doesn't stop. It really doesn't stop. Nice stunt too at the end with the burning, like Chin Hoi sort of falling off his altar, which does have a bit of, stunt work to the movie. Soy dies too, and Sammo fails to catch him when he falls. I mean, bearing in mind, it's a bit unfair because Sawyer's done everything he can to help him, and all Sammo had to do was catch him, and he just falls to the ground, and Sammo's like misses him, and he just dies right there. So Chong Fat doesn't really get a good ending in this movie. His wife tries to act all sympathetic once it's over, and it ends with Sammo basically beating the crap out of her. So as I say, Sammo was never one for subtleties when it come to things like that, and he basically just punches her repeatedly, calls her a name, and then the film ends. But it's an amazing film, and if you've never seen Spooky Encounters, if you're new to the world of kung fu cinema, horror, Sammo Hungs in general, please go and check out Encounters of the Spooky Kind, because it will always be one of my favourites. I can always watch it. I've always enjoyed it. I can't even count how many times I've seen this movie. So please go and check out Encounters of the Spooky Kind if you've never seen it. Thank you very much indeed for watching. Hope you enjoyed the review, and I'll see you again soon.